let's start with Oxford, shall we? You're still here. So, has anything happened? Have you heard anything? Have you spoken to them?
No, I mean, I heard that our friend Ruben Rodriguez was made a comment, and I actually spoke to Ruben. He called me. He's such a great guy. I think that they the journalist asked Ruben a question immediately after the game. And the guys are out there, they have their adrenaline going, and they're in a certain frame of mind, and probably I would say probably caught off guard a little bit, and he has a brilliant character. We all know that, his personality, and then he said something after the game that probably sparked more attention. But no, I know that I was linked with the job. Is flattering because they're a club doing so well, and to if somebody had some conversation about me there at Oxford, and that's where the link came from, then that's very flattering. But no, I haven't had any contact, only with Ruben, and I know I'm very happy. I have a wonderful club that I work for, and we're trying to progress, and we're sort of, like I said before, we closed one chapter on what we're trying to achieve by getting out of the National League and back into the EFL, and we've kind of showed that we can compete, but we're a level away from where we want to be, and that's really exciting, because we're just continuing to try and move forward.
So, when you find out that you are the bookmaker's favourite for it earlier this week, what's your reaction to that news? Are you just putting it all on Ruben and brushing it off, or is there some different reaction? What's going through your mind at that point?
Well, look, I mean, I've been in football for a long time, and like, for example, I've spoken to friends of mine in the past and said, I've seen that you're favourite for this, or a player, I've seen that you're moving to this club, and very often the answer is like, I've not heard a single thing. But I think sometimes a conversation takes place at a club, and then some of that information is then, in a natural way, is taken away from that conversation to the wider world, and then somebody else then makes a bigger deal of it, as maybe Chinese whispers type of thing, but all in an innocent way. For example, you're thinking about moving, and then you want to know what the shops are like, what the schools are like. So you ask a friend, and that friend then tells somebody that, he's definitely moving to this area and this house and blah blah blah, and the kids are going to go to the. So I think it's something probably like that. I'm sure there was some level of interest, and that's nice to know, but certainly nothing more meaningful than that.
Is it something you felt the need to address with the players this week, just to say, look, I know you've heard all of this, or have you just let it pass by?
I think, honestly, I've been linked now a few times for a few different jobs, and I think in the end it becomes, silly. Like, it's too many times, I think, where I could have said to the players, don't listen to this and what have you. But I prefer just to carry on with our routine, and not change our routine for something that is pointless. If a day ever came when I decided that I was moving on, or that I'm being told to move on, then I will be the first one to tell the players and have an honest conversation with them. But when there's no need to have that conversation, I'd rather just let speculation be speculation, and carry on with preparing for training each day and preparing for each game.
Yeah, I mean, in football, players move on, managers move on. It does happen in life, but it strikes me at the moment with you, it would have to be something very tempting. I'm not saying Oxford necessarily isn't that, but it'd have to be something brilliant, wouldn't it? Because the job you've got, the support you get at Notts, and the way it's going at Notts, you seem to be very happy. It would have to be something pretty special, wouldn't it, to lure you away?
Yeah, I mean, you don't trade brilliant for mediocre. So, absolutely, and you know the job is very challenging, but like you said, I have the support around me, and I think it's something that I spoke about in my very first interview when I came to join the club, that every single head coach and manager is under pressure, but what we all want is support and a chance to try and do well, and certainly I have that here. I have support, and we have a chance as a club to try and compete, and that's all that you can ask for. And like I said, many clubs, the manager will be under just as much pressure and have just as much stress, but often don't have the support. And you know, I've been in a similar type of situation before, and that's very difficult. And then you probably are more readily looking for a way out of that job. But certainly, I can't complain about the treatment that I receive here at Notts.
It's just before we look ahead to this, get the game coming up. I just want to ask you about the end to the game last weekend, and I know there's an investigation going on to find out exactly what happened. But when that game drags on for another 10, 15 minutes, the way it does, having to clear fans off the pitch, there's police on it, and everything else. What are you thinking at that point? Because that's not the way you kind of want to see any football match conclude, no matter what the emotions are regarding the penalty decision, are they?
Yeah, I don't like to see the game finish like that. I think that, you know, football's a very emotional game, and people were very unhappy with a decision, and this has been the case since football began. So it seemed to be a very slow reaction, you know, to what was going on, and I was a long way from it. As you know, from my position is almost as far away as you can possibly get, so I can't see too clearly what's going on. I mean, Tom Will immediately suggested to change the linesman over, which just seemed like a very sensible thing. But then it took a long time for that to happen. And I know, look, anyone can be injured or whatever, and that's horrible for the referee to suffer an injury, but even that beforehand, the end of the game just seemed to become a farce, and I think absolute credit to Crewe, because with all that had happened, they were able to be focused, and they made a really good action that led to the penalty, and that's the bit that's really disappointing for me. And then after that, I don't know exactly what happened over there, and there's an investigation going on, I believe. I haven't heard anything else. I know, look, certainly nobody was hurt. There was no invasion of the pitch. There was no ugly scenes. I think very, very frustrated Notts fans being animated and seemed to cause like a huge problem. So let's see what happens with the investigation.
Yeah, it was unfortunately another defeat to one of those teams up at the top. Over the last few weeks, obviously, there's been Mansfield and Wrexham as well. Do you read too much into that? Are there things in there that you look at and say, okay, there's things to take from that as to where we're going to have to be able to compete at the very top of this division?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's fair to say that there wasn't a huge gap in the level of the teams. It wasn't. I don't think we were completely outplayed and blown away. I think probably, you know, the toughest game for us was Mansfield. I thought they were an excellent group, and they caused us problems. I think in the Wrexham game we were very competitive, and we know that Wrexham were a super side. I think in this Crewe game, I think that we were value for at least a point. So I don't see like a huge chasm between where we are and where we want to be, but without a question, we're not at the level that we're wanting to arrive at. We want to be playing consistently at a higher level than what we are, and that's the job in front of us. That's what we're motivated to do. That's why we're, you know, continuing to try to work every day. That's why I'm late for press. My apologies, but I have, you know, very important job to do to try and raise and help the players to raise the level so that we can consistently beat teams and consistently beat teams that are at the top end of the table.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We just assumed you were driving up from Oxford to speak to us, so don't worry about it. As for this weekend's game, Bradford this weekend, and a big club. I know they're down the bottom end of the table at the moment, but a big club, and they've got huge ambitions, obviously, and have changed their manager of late as well, which I guess makes them slightly more difficult to quite know what to expect from them this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. We've been trying to prepare the game, but we have, we have a feeling that the team could look very different to the one that we can watch back over the last few games. And so, part of our preparation is making sure that we try to impose ourselves on the game and we try to deliver our game plan, and then we can try to make the players aware of what the opposition potentially can do. I think if we focus so much on the opposition, we can come to the pitch without any plan. Because if we focus so much on what we think they're going to do and they do something different, now we have nothing to base our performance off. But yeah, we're going to try to have an awareness, and we're going to try to improve our own performance and make sure that that our game plan is the more dominant one on the pitch.
Best of luck with it this weekend, Luke. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Over to you, Mark.
Hi, Luke. Good to see you. Hope you're well.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Thank you. Just going back to the situation with Oxford, in terms of ambition and loyalty, and one of the things that you spoke about there was each approach, there's no point in going to something that's less than what you've got here. Does that mean that each approach, not saying necessarily in your situation, but generally has to be judged on its own merit and how happy you are in the current situation? Can a lot be said for not leaving a job that's half done?
Yeah, let me just be clear as well. I want to clarify, because I don't want my words to be taken wrong, that there was an approach and I didn't think that Oxford is any good as a club. There wasn't an approach, so therefore I haven't had to make that decision. But in general, yeah, Notts is such a good club that to leave here would be a wrench, and we have a work to do, because we are still ambitious. I think there are scenarios for head coaches where maybe they feel like the club is not capable of moving forward anymore, and they feel like they have something more to offer and will move on. And other times the club feel like they are more ambitious than the manager and they need a new manager. And I think at the moment we align well, myself and the club, we align well that we're ambitious, that we got promoted, and I think it's fair to say that we performed at an extremely high level consistently throughout last season. And now we're trying to work out how to get back to that level in this division, and that's the task that we have, and that's what both myself and the club are driven to do.
I know you mentioned that it's flattering to be linked anywhere. It shows that you're doing a reasonable job where you're at, but is it also, by the same token, frustrating as well? I mean, I know we shouldn't judge X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at face value, but according to some sources, it was practically a done deal. But from your perspective as well, seeing something that isn't true, is there any frustration in that for yourself?
No frustration at all. It's I think the first time it happens to you, then it can be difficult to deal with, because you start to try and find out what's going on and making phone calls, and before you know it, you spent a lot of energy on something that is not real, and that can actually leave a human being feeling deflated, because if they start to pursue that line of like discovering what's going on and talking to several different people and starting to visualize their life at a new job, and then it doesn't happen, they've almost disappointed for no reason. They're disappointed in something that was never actually there. So my approach is that I do my job every day as well as I possibly can here. Speculation is speculation. If somebody comes through the front door and speaks to the owners of Notts County and says that they want permission to talk to me, and that they think that they can first of all there is a sum of money that needs to be paid up front if a club even want to begin to discuss anything with me. So until something like that happens, that's real, that I have to deal with, that it is actually happening. Other than that, I just ignore. I'm lucky enough to not feel any temptation to go on social media. I don't have a huge network of people to contact, and I don't have the urge to do that. So no, I understand what you're saying and how difficult this can be for people. It certainly isn't for me.
And I know you've touched on this before, but what is it that you feel for the club? Because what always comes across, Luke, is that this just isn't a job for you. You have a great affection for the club and for the supporters here.
Yeah, I feel an enormous sense of responsibility to try and give a product on the pitch that is really something that you can buy into and engage with. And I think that we football fans, when we turn up at the grounds to watch our teams, we want to see something that is exciting. We want to see something that looks like it's been well practiced and well rehearsed. We want to see blood and thunder. We want to see those raw stuff. We want to see people that are living out our dream in front of us by wearing the shirt and being able to represent the club that we love. We want to see that they actively are showing us that they appreciate that. And trying to bring all of those things together is really tough, and it's a challenge, but I think it's what the people deserve. And of course, sometimes we fall short. We don't manage to make an exciting enough performance and make enough goalmouth action, and we're disappointed for that. Sometimes we struggle to get to the physical levels where we want to be, and you know that can happen, and we're disappointed whenever we don't hit the type of performance that we want to hit. We want to be exciting to watch. We want to be tough. We want to show the expression, but we also with the discipline. These things are really hard, but that's what we're striving for week in, week out.
Just the final one, just on the league position and table. Obviously, 2 defeats in the last league games, but those around you keep winning. How difficult is it for a manager such as yourself to know that your players yourself have to be just almost perfect to try and keep pace with some of these clubs that don't seem to be dropping much points?
No, agreed. I think that the teams now that are sitting at the top of the league are very powerful clubs in the division for sure, and they've worked brilliantly to get everything in line. You know, they've had a few in terms of Mansfield and Stockport, for example. They've had a few cracks at it, and they're getting better and better. I think it's probably fair to say that Wrexham recruited a team, you know, well in advance of the National League, and they've done that exceptionally well. So I think that the teams that are up there that don't seem to be dropping points now, they deserve to be where they are. They're fantastic. They're well-run clubs that are doing everything right. With, you know, you look at the level of the coaches that they all have as well. Everything is there, and they deserve to be where they are. And we have to now try to build ourselves up to try to compete. And there's many clubs on a similar level to us that are trying to do the same thing. So, you know, we've got a huge task, and we're prepared for that task. We're up for that, but certainly it's very demanding. Yeah.
Thanks, Luke. Good luck for Bradford.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Jordan?
Hi there, Luke. Firstly, what does it mean to you to work at the oldest professional football club, and how much do you enjoy it?
Oh, it's a huge honour that I'm very aware of day in, day out, and that doesn't, you know, that novelty is not worn off, and it never will. I appreciate the job that I have, and I appreciate what the club means to many people, and I try to work in a way that I think is suitable for the club and for the people that support the club, and I think that has to be wholeheartedly, that has to be passionately, and I try to make sure that I have that energy and that work ethic every day as a bare minimum. I think that's the requirement to you know, to be the head coach of Notts County for sure.
And a lot of managers kind of come and go at different football clubs and don't really feel like an affinity with the fans and the players. Do you feel like you have this strong connection with the fan base that makes you feel like you just love working here because of that?
Well, I mean, look, for a start, when I arrived here, I was very aware that that the fans and the people at the club needed desperately to be promoted out of the division, and we went through an incredible journey, all of us together. We went through a journey that began with uncertainty. We won and I think drew 3 on the bounce, and there was a lot of worry, and there was a lot of negative feelings that all of us were going to fall short, and there was a fear that I wouldn't be able to bring what the fans needed and produce on the pitch what they expected to see. But I think we got there, and I think probably by the end of the season, the journey that we'd been through together is something that will never separate us. That we achieved 107 points and ultimately lost the title chase on the second last league game after playing, I think, probably some spectacular football, scoring a lot of goals and breaking a lot of club records. We were phenomenal away from home, to be quite honest. So, those people that travelled to, week in, week out to watch us, I think they connected with us in a huge way. And then, of course, you have to think then, after all of that was done, we went on an incredible playoff campaign together that took us down this roller coaster of despair, where we felt like we had not even managed to get to the final, and then this dramatic last minute winner from Jody, an incredible feeling that, the pitch invasion. Then of course the final was astonishing, because we started so nervous and we looked like we'd lost the opportunity to get promoted again, and of course then to be promoted with a final kick of a ball after all of those things that I've just described. How honestly can we be separated after that? So I think the journey that we went through, it was inevitable that we have an incredible connection, and I feel that, I know thousands of people that support the club feel that, because we communicate on the street and at the ground, and it's an amazing thing to experience. It really is.
And lastly, it's going to be a question about Oxford, so you probably hate him at this point. In terms of Oxford, they're second in League One. They're looking like a really strong side, and their eyes are certainly on getting promoted into the Championship. Is that a kind of a project that a lot of managers would be turned to, be kind of interested in?
Yeah, I'm sure that there are going to be many suitors for that job, and I think that the most difficult thing for Oxford will be trying to draw up a shortlist, because there will be a lot of very, very capable, very experienced head coaches or managers that are eagerly putting their CV in for that job. And I should think, like I say, the most difficult thing is whittling that down, because they're going to be sport for choice, I'm sure, because they're offering the opportunity for a manager or a head coach to go into a very well functioning team with a very ambitious club, a very forward thinking club. So yeah, of course, I think it's natural there's going to be many, many people for them to choose from, and I'm sure that they're going to exhaust every avenue, and they're going to arrive with the perfect person. I've got no doubt.